Hi, and welcome back to CVC Interviews. My name is Joyce Vaudrey from Vernon, and today's guest is someone who has an extremely interesting background and a lot of great things to talk about happening here in our local area. Today I'm talking with Master Patrick Cassidy, and I believe you're going to find his story and his business very interesting. Welcome and thank you for joining us today.
Thank you for having me today. This is a pleasure to be here.
I am intrigued by your method of teaching, but also the idea of your adults classes. So before we get into this adult class, I really want people to hear about. Your background is diverse, but extremely interesting. How did you get started with teaching jiu-jitsu?
Well, it was quite a while ago. In July of '92, I met this instructor. He was teaching a kids class, and I met him, and I started talking to him. His name was Joe Jones. He's currently a 10th degree black belt. And back then, I started talking to him, and I saw one of his classes. I checked it out. I said, wow, this is interesting. And I just got hooked. I went and visited one time, and from that day forward, I just stayed with it. Absolutely loved it. The jiu-jitsu that he taught was so smooth. It's just phenomenal. It's just phenomenal.
So I was always curious to know from someone such as yourself, what makes you more interested in jiu-jitsu versus one of the other martial arts?
I love that question.
Good.
For example, the word karate means hands without weapon or open-handed. It's a general term. It talks about all sorts of martial arts. The style taekwondo, for example, is a hard style with lots of power, hard kicks, powerful punches, lots of power. Jiu-jitsu, the literal word for the word jiu-jitsu means the gentle art. It's about joint locks, pressure points, controlling another person against you. You could have a person that's very tiny with a big giant moose that's attacking you and easily take the person down with ease just by using these pressure points and joint locks. Everybody has the same bones and the same muscles, no matter what size they are.
Right, right. Yeah. So that sounds like it's perfect for adult women specifically. But how did that match up with your career in the military?
Well, I started my career in the military back in '86, and I retired from the Air Force back in 2011, a little while ago. But the training and the conditioning that you have in the military lifestyle, I found to be mirrored to the training and the conditioning of martial arts. So it kind of evolved in synchronicity. I was fortunate when I started training, I was in my mid-20s, I had already been preconditioned with a few years of military life.
Yes.
So it kind of it really took a hold real easy. So I adapted to the martial arts training as I was conditioned to adapt to military life.
Right.
So it really kind of was a good fit.
Excellent.
Yeah.
And so with the jiu-jitsu, you're working with someone, you started in Westover, and that's why your school is called the Westover
School of
Self-Defense. Right. How did you get partnered up with the folks up in Westover?
That's a great question.
I've done this before. You know.
I think you have,
okay.
Just by these questions. You know what you're asking. When I left active duty, I went to Westover Air Force Base in Chicopee, Massachusetts. Mm-hmm. And so when I started my full-time work there, I still wanted to start training and enjoying my training. So I talked to the gym, the recreation people at the gym, and they said, yeah, we would love to have a class here. So in '92, I started my training, and in '96, I was able to open a class at Westover Air Force Base. And so after teaching there for 8 years, built the credentials and loved it. The name Westover School of Self-Defense, it kind of stuck, and it was personal. And that's how we used that name when we created our logo.
Well, I think it's important because part of your career has to do with the military, and you're right. I strongly believe that the dedication and the physical demands of both training for the military and then the martial arts, it definitely falls in sync with each other.
I agree 100%.
I also want to point out that not only do you do your classes at, is it the Herrick Park?
Yes, I teach out of Herrick Park.
Out of Herrick Park. You also do special ceremonies at your home.
Yeah, what I did was I built a facility in my backyard. It's a beautiful facility. You always see it on my website, but it's for private functions. It's very serene. You're in the environment of nature. You have to walk down a long path just to get to it with the fire pits. It's such a beautiful environment. But the main classes are taught at Herrick Park on Monday and Wednesday evenings. And then if I ever have a special promotion ceremony or a test or a special type of function, like this October we have our 3-year anniversary. We're going to have a function at my house, a big cookout and all of that, and we'll be using that facility then as well.
Wonderful, wonderful. The classes that you're teaching on Mondays and Wednesdays, do people sign up in advance? Is it a drop-in? How do people get involved with the adult? And again, I'd like to point out this is adults only from 8 to 10 at night.
Yep,
no
that's
children.
Correct. Right now it's an adult class. I have these hours for the working adult. I mean, if you're working full-time and you still want to evolve and develop your skills, you can come to the class in the evening. Now, we take it year-round. This is the nice part I like about the class. We're here for each other in the class. When someone new comes in, we take that person and work them in. It's not a person, you're on your own, you got to catch up to everyone else. It doesn't work that way because everyone is a new person at some point in time. So when a new person comes in, they can just walk in. I'd prefer a phone call because we could prepare for it. You know, but if you come into the class and watch, the phrase is you come in and watch one, you'll be here for the rest. You'll never want to miss a class. But we take students as they come in. If they have prior experience, that's great. And if they don't, that's fine. Because the jiu-jitsu that I teach is very unique, and I teach a very special way. I've only promoted 2 of my students to their black belt ever since 1996. I'm very strict on it because it's effective. It has to be effective.
Yeah. I do appreciate you saying that. Unfortunately, I was not able to finish my career. I was 12. I took karate, briefly told you.
Yeah.
I had the ceremony, so I did make it to yellow belt
Yep.
Or orange. I don't even remember what it was. But it was intense, and it gave me a great sense of accomplishment. And I wish as a young girl I could have continued. But my mom was looking for places to direct my energies.
Sure.
That's
fair, yeah.
As it would be, and I do like the physical activity. The jiu-jitsu, can you explain to someone who's not familiar?
Absolutely.
Can you describe what type you're talking about? Hand positions and joints and pressure points.
The way jiu-jitsu works, my teacher learned from Dr. Moses Powell, who's deceased. He's been deceased for about 10 years. He created a system called Sanukasru Jiu-Jitsu. And he trained under a person called Professor V, Visitation, from this years ago. I have a thing that shows how many years all the way back this stuff goes. But Dr. Joe Jones was my primary instructor. And his system is called Joru Jiu-Jitsu. He incorporated his boxing techniques. He used to be a Golden Gloves boxer. He incorporated the training he had with Dr. Moses Powell, Professor Brown, and Preston Carter, incorporated his boxing moves and started his system called Joru Jiu-Jitsu. Now, the functions of jiu-jitsu works on the 3 fundamentals: simplicity, creativity, and fluidity. When you incorporate all 3 functions, the basic fundamentals of jiu-jitsu, it's through the use of joint manipulation and pressure points, like you said. The evolution of the student, it evolves. The student's capabilities evolve. In my school symbol, we have a picture of a dragon and a tiger. The tiger is a symbol of inner strengths, and the dragon is a symbol of hidden knowledge. And it's surrounded by a pyramid, which is a representation of a student, and it shows the 3 fundamentals around it. So when you look at my school logo, it actually has a message that says, when you incorporate hidden knowledge and you drive your own inner strengths and you incorporate the 3 fundamentals of jiu-jitsu, you evolve the student's capabilities.
And it can be applied to other things. If you're talking about hidden knowledge and strength, that's the thing about jiu-jitsu and other martial arts. It really builds up somebody's confidence. Absolutely
right. When you incorporate critical thinking into the class, what if this? If someone does this, then something, I would do this, and what are the consequences? You can take these fundamentals, and like you had mentioned, the confidence of your person, it escalates. When an instructor promotes a student without that student performing, but they're promoting them to be nice and encouraging, I don't do that.
Good.
In my class, for the beginners is yellow and orange. We test every 6 months. If you miss a test, well, you wait 6 months. 9 months for all the rest of the belts. And if you miss a cycle, well, you wait 9 more months to go to that next cycle, because the last thing you want to do is give a person a false sense of security, where they think that they can handle themselves, and yet they can't. So it's very personal. Having a promotion in my class is very, very personal.
I can totally appreciate that. As a teacher, when someone's like, oh, just make it easier for the child, you're like, how am I helping that child now?
Exactly.
How am I helping the child if I just say, oh, everything's going to be great and easy, don't worry about it? How am I helping them outside? So I can totally understand your connection between false sense of security and your need to have a qualitative prize for working so hard. I would like to hear more about how the class is done. We're going to take a quick break. We also have your webpage up, so we'll be back in just a few minutes, so please stay tuned. Thank you. Welcome back. As a reminder, my name is Joyce Vaudreuil from Vernon, and I'm sitting here with Master Patrick Cassidy, and people call you Master Patrick, I understand.
Yes.
So again, thank you for coming. We were talking about Herrick Park. Originally, I'm thinking, are you guys outside on a grassy knoll somewhere? Because Herrick Park to me sounds like an outdoor thing. Can you describe what the environment is for learning at Herrick Park?
At Herrick Park, the town of Bolton has a facility. They have a park, a softball field and stuff, and it also has a big giant parking lot, and that building is where we teach our classes out of year-round, and that's from 8 to 10 at night on Monday and Wednesday. The other facility is for private functions, special tests, promotion ceremonies, special events like that.
Yeah.
But the primary class is held at Herrick Park in that building.
So you're looking for more folks to sign up and it's a great opportunity for women to feel empowered. So can you help us understand, like walk us through what jiu-jitsu is and what someone would learn in those 2 hours?
Absolutely. The way jiu-jitsu works, I use an analogy of it's like riding a roller coaster. You get on a roller coaster, you're inside, and it brings you this way, and it brings you that way, and then you go into loop to loop, and then you go into tunnel. You don't know which way. It pulls you this way, and it pulls you this way, and you don't know what's going to happen. So the way the brain functions with involuntary movements, when someone's going to hit you, bam, their brain is thinking, I'm going to contact and hit hard. Well, before they hit, you grab them, you shock them real quick. And their mind goes from a focus of hitting to, wow, I just got hit. And then you hit in a joint or a pressure point, and then you trip and they lose their balance. And involuntarily, their body is reacting to what you're doing to them. So they don't get a chance to recover. You keep the fluidity aspect, just like a link in a chain, when that technique happens. So when someone grabs you, you grab them and you react. And then you instigate those specific strikes and attacks, them joint locks, and tie them up into a pretzel.
Ah.
Yeah.
So your training will help someone use that as like it's a reflex now. Someone's going to grab me. My reaction is going to be strike back.
Yes, that is absolutely
you're
correct.
preparing someone for, what is it, muscle memory?
Yes, that is absolutely correct.
Oh,
when someone grabs you, you grab them and you react. I had one student, her name was Teresa. She was a mother of 3 daughters, little small. She was 5 feet tall. I would lay her on a mat with Glenn. Glenn was 250 on top of her, start choking her. All you'd hear, oh, and she would destroy him. I loved it so much. It was great. It's so empowering.
Okay, so mothers of teenagers, give them a call.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll teach you.
Yeah, that I like the analogy with that. You and I also talked about your logo and how each thing represents something important to you.
Yes.
Beyond the dragon and the tiger, which actually, could you explain the
Sure.
logo again?
When you look at the school symbol, it shows a pyramid. The pyramid represents the student, the foundation of the student's evolution. Mm-hmm. There's a dragon and a tiger. The dragon is the hidden knowledge, and the tiger is the inner strengths.
Okay.
Surrounded by those two are the 3 fundamentals: the simplicity, creativity, and fluidity. The logo itself, when you look at it, the message is, when you pull out your inner strengths and you incorporate the hidden knowledge and you use those 3 fundamentals of jiu-jitsu, you evolve and develop the student's capabilities. That's the purpose of the logo.
Huh. Very nice.
Yeah.
How are some of the things that you teach something someone can use beyond just walking down the street and someone attacks them? Is it something you can apply in a non-physical way? You don't have to react?
Absolutely. What jiu-jitsu is going to do for you, when you continuously train and you develop those benefits of it, you're going to learn how to incorporate critical thinking. You're going to think of consequences on anything that you do or say. You're going to learn how to hold back before you react. It's a great tool to use to help you condition yourself in a professional environment.
Okay, I can definitely see some validity in that. And the conditioning is very important. We touched on, there was something you and I discussed, being someone who's taught in high school, you said there's something very specific. At certain ages of your life, there are things that are more important to introduce. High school age students are perfect to get them started in something like this. Their frontal lobe isn't formed, so what do you do with something like that?
That's
Send them
excellent.
to you?
No, I absolutely agree. There's a model out there. It's called situational leadership. The situational leadership, especially for teenagers in high school, it's fantastic. When someone comes into class, when they're new, I direct them. I say, okay, you do this, this is how you do it, and I watch them 100%, and I make sure they do it right. Over a period of time, after they start evolving a little and getting better and better, we start to shift into more of a supporting or coaching. We'll support them. Yeah, okay, do this. I'll show them a little bit. Okay, let them do a little bit more. I keep my hands on. And then after they evolve a little more, we'll just kind of, we'll coach them. And we'll say, okay, I'm going to watch you. I'll make a little correction here and there. Okay, this is good. And after they've evolved to a degree, I was, okay, you're on your own. Delegate. Here, I need you to do this, and do this. Go. And I'll watch them do it and make sure it's done. And they become empowered. And they use those tools of evolution from tell me what to do to now I'm on my own and you become a teacher.
The empowerment, that's the genuine confidence that you're instilling in them. You're taking what they know, showing them, yes, you can use this. So I think that's critically important to get people to stop and think And also to look back, look at what I've learned. I'm now at the point where he doesn't tell me what to do. He just says, nice to see you. So that's a goal, a mini goal. You have to have little goals. You have that goal, and then you have the belts. We talked briefly about the belts.
Yes.
To me, a belt signifies completion, renew. Completion, renew each time. What would be some of the things that are important beside the actual moves for someone to succeed in jiu-jitsu?
The first thing that's important to me is for my students to understand that they can be more and achieve more than they actually think that they can. It's extremely important, and that's how I get my benefit, is I watch these students become more than what they are. And it's great when they start tapping their unknown abilities and their hidden knowledge that they have that they don't even know they have. It's such a rewarding thing to see them actually become more than what they are. I love it.
That's a typical teacher statement that, you know,
I didn't know that. That's just how I feel.
Well, that's how my peers and we feel. Is that when you see that glimmer of, oh, they got it, the light bulb went on.
Yeah.
The sense of accomplishment for yourself definitely helps to drive, all right, I can keep doing this. I can keep doing this. I mean, that's critically important to empower people.
Right.
How would someone who doesn't have 100% use of their physical body, if someone has some sort of, they can't use, they don't have the full use of one of their hands, or,
okay.
Is that something that you can do to still be able to teach them jiu-jitsu?
Yes. See, first off, I'm not interested in what a person can't do. I'm interested in what they can do.
Okay.
We take what they can do and we build from that. Now, I do have a standard of performance in order to make a certain belt, to go to the next rank.
Which makes sense.
And I have in a book, I've written a book of all the standard requirements. But if a person comes in and they make it personal, I make sure that I give a person 100%. I tell the person, every single student I've ever had, I have a sit down and I tell them, I will give you 100%, as long as you do the same. That doesn't mean just pay classes on time. That means be on time. Make that personal commitment. Yeah. And if you do that, that person will get those benefits. If you can't move this hand, well, let's use this one. Right now, my best student in my class has a limitation with his wrist. He's not able to turn it a certain way because of a car accident from years ago. So we adapt to it. That's the good part about jiu-jitsu, is the creativity aspect. I present these techniques and these moves, and they're like tools. You take the tool and you put it in your toolbox. Take another tool, put it in your toolbox. So when a situation happens, it's not, oh, I have to do step A and B and C. No,
Yeah.
You pull out the tools and you create whatever you need for that
and
specific situation.
you customize it to your situation.
That's correct.
So you obviously have planned out a lot of your future. You have a military background. You've since retired from the military. I know you were active duty overseas, but how does your planning help you? You must have planned out that serene place to go for your testing. Do you have like a 5 or 10-year plan for where you're going to go next with this?
Actually, I do. I have a 10-year plan. I'm starting year 3.
Oh.
Within 10 years, I'm hoping to have 4 facilities, 4 schools located somewhere. I don't want to teach them. I want my black belts. I want to empower my black belts to be able to teach those classes. I don't have the black belts yet. I have a couple of my black belts up in Massachusetts. But here in Connecticut, I want my newer black belts. I want to be able to give them that opportunity to have their own schools and teaching their own. Because not many people know, but when you make your black belt, that's when you start to learn.
Wait a minute. When
it's
you
a whole
make
different world.
your black belt,
Yep.
that's when you start to learn.
That's correct. Before you make your black belt, you're learning just like the situational leadership model I talked about. Well, when you become a teacher, it's a whole new bell curve that you're starting with how to learn. You are now responsible for the evolution of your students.
Right.
You will reflect how well. If your students are doing well, it represents you.
Yes. Yes.
If your students look bad, well, that represents you. And then the worst part, or the best part, is when your students are in a situation. Did they handle it appropriately or not? Is going to reflect you. And that's why I'm very, very strict on my promotions. I'm very strict on it.
Excellent. And besides learning the actual jiu-jitsu, what are some of the things you could help someone who, say right now they're on the path? What are they looking for? Like beyond, all right, I've learned actually how to do jiu-jitsu. What do I need to open my own dojo?
Sure.
So how would you help them with that?
I actually have that written down on what I will do for my students.
So you have a written plan.
I have a written plan.
Awesome.
Yep.
That's I'm thrilled to hear someone has this kind of plan, but you also can react to a change in circumstance. I mean, 10 years ago, you didn't know you were going to live in this area, right?
Right.
So here you are, beautiful Bolton. I mean, this whole area, they got the tree tapping going on out there, tree saps. And so I love the idea that you're in this cozy little community where there's so much potential for empowering people. And the school for the program for the high school students. I mean, that's just, I think especially the girl students, I'm sorry to say. I don't mean to say girl and boys, but girls
good.
are not encouraged to do as many physical things with school activities as the boys are. So I think it's a great way for them to get physical and connect the mind to the body. But the whole training, I love the idea of bringing the high school kids in.
I would love it. I'm shooting to do that. My goal is to impact the lives of as many of these high school students that we can, because not only are we going to teach them jiu-jitsu, we're going to teach them coping skills.
Right,
we're going to
right.
teach them critical thinking. We're going to try to better mentor these students to become effective and productive adults so they succeed in life.
Well, as someone who's out there in society waiting for those high school students, I thank you. Well, thank you very much for coming in tonight. I really appreciate it. I look forward to seeing more of your students succeed and maybe doing a demonstration here. So I'd like to thank everyone for joining us tonight here at CVC Interviews. My name's Joyce Vaudreuil. I'm here with Master Patrick, and thank you again for joining us. Good night.